Changing the Landscape. Kira stopped hanging out with us by October, and around that time I discovered Nora hadn't been sent home yet, and Mr. Curry appeared in the local paper. We were sitting at our usual spot on the rocks. Ever since Sam and I told our friend what Luca had said about the announcements, we'd been scouring the paper for news of the Haven. That day, the paper said NATO had dropped a bunch of cluster bombs months ago, and that thousands of the tiny bombs were lying undetonated. They could go off and kill people if they were disturbed. At the safe haven, refugees were being taught how to detect and avoid the bombs for when they eventually returned home. Little kids are learning how to find bombs? Aiden asked, horrified. Jed nodded. My dad said it's wrong that they're teaching them to avoid bombs instead of keeping them here, where it's safe until the bombs have all gone. Jed turned the page and his eyes widened. There was a photo of Mr. Curry standing at the gated entrance to the haven. He was staring at the camera, his arms crossed and a serious expression on his face. Furman Curry, a volunteer teacher from the Haven, speaks out, Jed read, and we all leant in. These last few weeks the children have been exhausted, distracted and prone to violent outbursts or crying fits. The adults are distressed and the children can feel a shift in their mood and spirits. Some children wander aimlessly around the school buildings or else disappear during the day completely. We were all quiet for a bit and then Jed continued. Nora Ramusa works as an English teacher back home in Reaveci. Jed started, and I sucked in a breath. She has been working with Furman Curry as his teacher's aide and translator. What else does it say? I blurted, feeling like I would jump out of my skin if Jed didn't hurry up and finish reading. Miss Ramusa expressed her deep sadness that, in her opinion, the refugee children have been unfairly used in political games. She says their world had been turned upside down and they were just starting to find their feet again, but any good work is now being undone. Nothing else? I asked, wondering if they'd mentioned that she was pregnant and unsure if she'd be sent home too. Jed shook his head. By that same week, Kira had stopped sitting at our table in class and Sam took her spot and said, pretty soon she'd also stopped hanging at the rocks with us during lunchtime. And I knew that we'd probably never again eat chocolate crackles on her bedroom floor or stick paper fortune tellers under each other's noses to predict our fates. It wasn't just because we probably wouldn't go to the same high school next year. It felt like the chasm between us had turned into a gorge. She moved on to a new group. I wasn't mad, but I still felt sad. I knew it was probably because of Sam and me and how upset we'd been. If moving on to a new group of friends meant I wouldn't have to think of Drumlin ever again, or worry about Nora learning how to find bombs, then I'd move on too. But I couldn't. That wasn't a choice for me. And then something happened in the first week of October that would change everything. Those contour lines spreading out and rippling, changing the landscape again, and this time, maybe forever.